Morning, family. Welcome back to the Prison Save My Life podcast. I'm your man, Sam. That's who I am. It is Saturday, October the 4th. Not feeling too good this morning, y'all. I had a rough week, but we're going to try to do this. Based on the last podcast that I did, what's crazy is I had a lot of views. The first podcast that I did, I had a lot of views, but that second one, I really had a lot of views. And I had told someone, seemed like that second podcast, I was sort of, they can come off as negative, but I got a lot of views on that, and that's what's crazy. It's like when you do something positive, you don't get that much support, but when you do something negative, the whole world is all over it. But it is what it is, you know. Let's get started with this. Giving honor to God, who's the head of my life. In Jesus' name, I thank y'all for being here today. As you know, the microphone is my therapist. Let's get back to the format of Prison Saved My Life. Imagine walking out of prison with nothing but the clothes on your back and a head full of uncertainty. That was me and how I started this journey. I wrote some things down so I can stay focused. I'll get better with time, but let's go back to that. My first day out, I'm going to share the raw truth about those first days out. Hurdles that I faced, the mind shift, to put me on the path towards college. So 5:30 a.m., guard comes down. Sawyer, you going home this morning? I said, yeah. He was like, congratulations, man. I know you're going to do well. I said, okay, thank you. So they break those bars, break those doors, whatever you want to call it. And I'm walking down, look back one last time, you know, say goodbye to some fellas. A little emotional, don't know what to expect. I spent so many years behind bars, you know, the routine of getting up, going to work, going to the yard, going to school, whatever. But anyway, you get the chance to go to the front of prison where administration is, you know, and you don't see that type of stuff because you're always in the back. And first person I saw was my mother. See my mother and she's smiling and I'm smiling. I got a few things under my arms, you know, papers and things of that nature. When you're in prison, you write stuff down, what you're going to do when you get out, kind of like a road map, a goal sheet. So I give my mom a hug. She tell me that my stepfather is outside with the vehicle. And first disappointment, my mother had brought me a lot of clothes to put on, you know, so I can get out this monkey suit, this jail clothes. I want to leave all that behind. They tell her that one person tells her she can't bring the clothes in because they haven't been searched for drugs. Now, who's trying to bring some drugs into prison on their way out? I'm going out. I'm not even coming in, but it is what it is. And then the other person said, hey, no, he's going home. Let him dress out. So those two go back and forth. And it's like, even on your way out the door, they trying to degrade me. So, you know, the other officer was like, hey, man, go over there in that room, change clothes. We not listening to him. So I take my clothes that my mother gave me and I go put them on, and I got to give it to my mother credit. My mother was always into fashion. So here it is, 2005, and my mother still knows, you know, what's fashionable. I go in, I put the clothes on. I look at myself, 36 years old, but I don't look it. Felt good to have on real clothes. I hadn't had on real clothes in a minute. Come out, sign out of prison just like I sign in. Walk you through a bunch of doors towards the front. Behind you, everything is closing and locking down. And take it that the prison that I'm leaving looks exactly like the prison in Shawshank Redemption. That was level 4. I don't get that, how you're going home and you have to go home from a level 4. That's where they process you in is where they process you out. But then again, I guess it's kind of a reminder, you know, look at what you're coming from and all of that. Anyway, get in the vehicle, give hugs to my stepfather. We head out. My mother is in front of me doing something, and I don't know, but I'm just looking around at trees and at birds and things because I can't believe it that I'm finally leaving this place that I've been in for so long. I went in as a kid, 18 years old, and I'm coming out, I'm 36. And I'm full of hopes and dreams. structure. And I'm just, hoping that everything goes right. I'm excited about going home, wherever home is, because while I was in prison, family had moved around. My father had died. Things had changed, so I don't even know where I'm going. I'm not going back to Flint. I'm not going back to Detroit on 7 Mile. I'm going to a town called Belleville. I've heard great things about it. I looked it up, but I'm just going wherever I'm going. And my mother was like, hold on, I want you to speak to somebody. And my mother made a phone call and she hands the cell phone back to me. So this is 2005 and that thing was about this tiny, little singular cell phone. And she called my son and I'm talking to him and everything. And my mother had arranged it to talk to my son's mother to like, don't let him go to school. We picking Corey up today. That's what my family calls me, Corey. So we head to Flint, Michigan. I am nervous. I'm excited. I'm looking at all the cars that have come out as I go down the highway, the bright colors. I'm looking at people, and for the first time, I'm not looking out of a prison van with tinted windows. I don't have shackles on. I'm not in an orange suit that lets people know that I'm a convict. It was beautiful. It was beautiful, and pull up in Flint, and we get out of the vehicle and walk up on the stairs and knock on the door. My son's mother, I think she came to the door first, and I give her a hug, say hello and all of that. And then she yells in the back for my son, and my son comes out, and give me a hug. And we just sit there and we hug and he cry. And I'm still shocked because when I left, my son was still in the womb. My son was born while I was going through my trial. I got a chance to see him over the years, But here it is now. He's 16 years old. And I'm like, wow, how do I address him? I'm his father, but is he a kid? Is he a teenager? I've been in prison. I haven't been parenting anybody. So I gave him a hug and we talked. And can't even remember, y'all. It was so long ago. But I know that my mother was like, well, just drop through to say hello. I got to get him certain places. So I got to go check in with my PO. I got 24 hours to check in with my PO. Parole officer, I'm sorry. So then we head out, go to Detroit, find the parole office, go in, sign in, check in with the parole officer, do a urine drop and all of that stuff. My mother, like, you hungry? And I'm like, yeah, I think, because I'm not sure. Then my mother calls my brother and tells my brother that I'm out. My stepfather has to go to work, and we switch vehicles. We get in the car with my brother, get in the truck, stick shift, and we headed off to this little restaurant, Cracker Barrel. And man, I'm getting motion sickness from my brother switching the gears and the jerking around and all of that. I haven't been in a vehicle in some years, especially not no stick shift. So that's my first real memory of something trauma. Some type of trauma is I got motion sickness and I didn't know what it was. I just was like, I don't feel good. And I'm like, I think I'm gonna throw up. My brother like, don't throw up in my truck, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, whatever. I'm like, man, I'm sick. So we finally make it to the restaurant, go in. And again, people, that's just what I'm looking at. I'm looking at people. And I know people probably like, what is he staring at? I'm just looking at people. I'm looking at the bright colors. I'm looking at haircuts. I'm looking at the clothes that people got on, My whole life has been whatever I saw on television for the 16 years. The guards wear uniforms. Ain't nothing fashionable about that. And then we were wearing uniforms as well. The prison system had took our clothes, so we had to wear uniforms so they can identify the prisoners from the guards or from the teachers or whoever, the different staff. So order me something basic, some chicken and green beans and mashed potatoes. I don't even know what I want to eat, so I pick over some stuff. I'm just excited to be home. Food was great, but my stomach couldn't take it. All the different spices. You're in prison, the food is bland. Everything is boiled, baked. or something like that. Steam. The only seasons you really have is salt and pepper. You buy you some hot sauce from the prison store. But out here, all these different seasonings. So I was sick again from just eating the spicy foods. I don't. Nobody tells you how to come home. There should be a book telling the guy when he get out, hey, you're going to have to eat some regular mashed potatoes, pull the skin off your chicken because you're not going to be ready for all of that. Your body has to adjust because in prison, you eat very healthy. Like I said, everything is baked, broiled, or steamed. When you come out here, you got all these greasy foods and whatever else goes into the food. And your body, it take a minute for it to adjust. I came home, I had clean skin. Within 2 weeks, I got pimples and all of that from all the oils and the contaminations that's in food, bacteria, whatever. It's different. Like when I say that prison is a world within a world, is different. My mother lived in the country, so I paroled home to 28 acres, some chickens, rooster, and a dog named Sue. That was my baby. But like this microphone is my therapist, that dog became my therapist, y'all, because I needed somebody to talk to. We stayed way out in the country. Because I asked my mother, I said, where are we? And she said, you're closer to the Ohio state line than you are to the sign that says, welcome to the city of Detroit. Why? Why are we way out here? I'm trying to go somewhere. I'm trying to see some things. All I'm seeing is cornfields, horses, and chickens. And I'm like, man, I just left something like this, the prison farm and everything. But it was, I'm thankful. I am. Big, beautiful home, man. I remember pulling up, coming down the dirt street and looking for my mother's house. What I thought that a house my mother would have. Man, when I tell you my mother had a palace, she had moved out in the country. So like I said, 26, 28 acres. My mother knocked down all the trees and built the most beautiful home from the ground up. They pull over and get the mail. Dirt street. And then they start driving up this driveway. That driveway, and I'm not exaggerating, y'all, you can ask my family. That driveway is 100 yards long. It's the length of a football field from the street all the way up the driveway to the house, the most beautiful house I've ever seen. And chickens and I'm like, this is the house? And she like, yeah. It's got a goldfish pond in the front yard, man. It's got the country bill on the side. The driveway is dirt, and so you park on the grass. Because in the garage, my mother got fishing gear, her car, and some other stuff was in there. So I hop out, and I think my stepdad went in the house for something. Because like I said, he had to go to work. And here comes this dog. This dog comes out. A beagle, friendly dog, just come out wagging her tail. She go to my stepfather. She go to my mother. Then she come over to me. My mother say, yeah, that's Sue. I hold my hand down, let the dog smell me. Then I start petting the dog, and off the back, me and the dog become friends. So I'm looking in the backyard at the chickens. And I said, can I go back there? And she like, go ahead. So I go back, and I want to see the chickens. And, and I'm really like, my mother got a farm. I'm way out in the country, but it's beautiful. It's a modern home, but it's in the country. So I'm walking around, I'm looking at everything, and I'm like, all of this is yours? She like, yeah. And she like, yeah, you can hunt on the land or have target practice. And I'm like, well, I can't have target practice. I ain't supposed to touch the gun, but I will get me a crossbow. So I'm just looking over the land and just looking around at everything, how beautiful it is. And it was bright and sunny. And I'm like, man, this is beautiful. And she like, well, come on in and let me show you the house. go in the house, take off my shoes. You come in through the garage, and then the first thing you come into is the pantry or the laundry room. My mother giving me the name of the different rooms in the house because we in the country, so stuff got different names. This is the sunroom. This is the pantry. This is the city room. All of this, in the kitchen, the nook or something like that, and with the skylights. This is a home, something like Better Homes and Gardens. I have never seen something this beautiful before in my life. And I'm like, man, my mother came up while I was in prison. So I'm just looking at the beautiful home and the decorations, my mother has an eye for interior decorating, man. This house is laid. The furniture is laid and everything. And the house run by gas and all of that and well water and what did she say? We had a septic tank. I don't know what none of this stuff is at the time, but I get to know what she's talking about every day. She points upstairs, which is a balcony overlooking the living room. She said, your room is up there. I said, okay, but where are the stairs to get up there? I go upstairs. There's 2 rooms and a full bathroom. The one room is a king size bedroom. And I'm like, this your bedroom? She like, no, that's the guest room. What guests need a king size bedroom? I'm like, okay. And she let, your room is on the other side. Go across the balcony. And there's another big giant room that this one sits and looks over the top of the house. So when I look out the window, I can see the front of the street and everything where the mailbox is. And I'm like, man, this is gorgeous. Come downstairs, look in her room. Her room is like 2 or 3 rooms, man. She got a hot tub in her room in the middle of the floor. So you get out of her bed and walk a few steps through this little door entryway. There's a hot tub in the middle of the floor. Go to the left. There's another little door where the toilet is and the shower. Man, I can't even describe it. I think that room had 2 walk-in closets. And then you go through another door and you come back out on another side of the room, which leads to another bathroom. And then there's a den right there. And in the den, there's a walk-in closet. Come out the den and you back at the front room where the front door is. Go outside on the porch, and she had a half wrap. So the porch wraps around half of the house. Like I said, I ain't never seen nothing like this before. The goldfish pond, I'm like a little kid. And the whole time I'm looking at this house, I'm also thinking, how much money my mother got? How much money do they have? Because, y'all didn't come up out here. My mother was a registered nurse. My father was skilled. My stepdad was skilled trades, electrical something in the shop, dealing with combustion and all of that. But it's like, how much money they got? 2 or 3 vehicles. But it was just nice. I came home nice. I'm thankful. Everybody don't get that opportunity. Some people have to come home and go to prison housing and things of that nature, or they got to go back to their conditions. My mother laid it out for me, man. She really did. I appreciate everything that she did. My mother went to New York to get my clothes. Her and my niece Turquoise. Shout out to Turquoise. My mother and Turquoise went to New York, like on a vacation or something, but they went shopping there and got me clothes. So my mother had my room laid out. My outfits, my clothes and shoes and belt, everything was laid out. Everything that a person needs. I'm not thinking about when I get out of prison what I'm going to need. The clothes on my back. I wasn't even thinking, when I change clothes, I'm thinking that maybe this is it. I'm going to wear this for a couple of days. No, my mother prepared for me to come home. I don't know if she was calling up there to that prison and everything because I wasn't saying nothing because I just wanted to get up out of there. And I let her know when I was coming, but she had clothes laid out, underwear, T-shirts. I remember her asking me my sizes, but I'm not even thinking about it. So I got everything that I need as far as clothing, toiletries, toothpaste, soap, all of that right there. Because the whole upstairs is mine and the bathroom. Upstairs is basically mine. So it's like I have my own place upstairs, and I'm like, okay, cool. The room had the television, the radio, and all of that. It's laid out. It's laid out. Here comes the dog. Because she told me as well, she said, you going to have some guests because the dog usually be up in there. Or when people come over, she come up and be nosy. The dog just checking everything out. So the dog come up. There's a chair at the foot of my bed. The dog hops up in the chair and just looking at me. And I'm looking at the dog. I shut the door because I wanted to be alone and I cried. That's the only thing that I knew to do. I cried. Why am I crying? I'm happy to be home, but at the same time, I'm overwhelmed. And what I mean by that, when you've been in prison for a long time and all the colors are basically gray and white, ain't no bright colors in there, no blues, reds, yellows, and orange. I mean, the newer facilities, yeah, but in the older facilities, no. Everything is gray and white. Your television is black and white, no color television. So I'm coming home and all of these bright colors, just stimulus or the stimuli, sounds. Different cars got sounds, the decibels of things, the sound systems in people's cars, people talking in the restaurant. It's just everything just coming at me. So I was overwhelmed. I had to go in my room and I had a good cry. And my brother came and took me and my mother out to eat, and we drove around, and I'm just looking, trying to get to know where I am. Ann Arbor, Belleville, Ypsilanti, Romulus, Taylor, Inkster. I'm just trying to get to know where am I, because I don't know. I'm off of 94. All I knew before I went to prison was 75, 475, 275, Where am I? This ain't even Detroit. How do I get back to the west side of Detroit and things of that nature? Oh, it's a learning experience, man. That night, turned on the radio, and I took out everything, my paperwork, because I'm like, okay, I got to hit the ground running. I want to go to school. Where's Wayne State? These are the classes. I had one of their catalogs that I ordered, and I already knew what classes that I wanted to take. Music industry management, get my bachelor's in that, because I wanted to be a music executive from day one. I wanted to be a music executive / producer. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to Wayne State. I already had a job lined up. Someone that my brother knew owned a factory called Engineered Plastic Products in Ypsilanti. So I think the man gave me maybe 2 or 3 days to get home and get adjusted, accustomed to being home. And then I had an interview with him. Shout out to Brother Edwards for giving me my first job. Brother Gerald D. Edwards, the first millionaire that I had met as well. It's a story in that I'll share with y'all on one of these podcasts, how manifesting things, calling things to be not as though they were, like the scripture said. The job that my brother helped me get, I knew the man before the man even knew me, and I'll share that in a podcast with y'all. But anyway, I'm just sitting down writing. I think maybe I called my son, mother, and I called my son. Because back then, you could only use the cell phone at night for 3 minutes, These youngins probably don't know nothing about that, but when I first got out, you couldn't make no long-distance calls. You had to wait for free nights and weekends, and my mother was like, wait until tonight, and then you can be on the phone all you want, but you got to stand in certain places because you're not going to get reception out here in the country. And I'm like, what? She like, you're going to have to go outside to stand on the sidewalk, or you're going to have to stand a certain place in the house. Because like I said, we live so far out with all of these trees. And back then, Singular did not have the best reception. My mother was like, you're going to have to get a phone from Verizon, but that bill going to be high. So it's like, okay, well, whatever. I just stayed up that night just writing my goals and my map. That's what I call it, a map things. Okay, I need to do this tomorrow. I need to get my identification. I need to get my social security card. I need to find out where the college is, what day I need to come down there, sign up for the classes, pay my application fee. Let me go online and do my financial aid. Man, I'm moving too fast. The first thing a person should do when they come home is just sit, be still, pray, and just breathe. Because I had developed a routine in prison, I came straight home and jumped straight out here, getting my license, getting my social security card, opening up a bank account, getting enrolled in college, went and applied for that job. That particular job wasn't hiring at that time because everybody had got laid off. And he told me he got to call his union workers back first. Instead of me taking the time to just relax, I called up my nephew and was like, Nick, come get me, man. I need to go get a job. Take me somewhere. And then he was like, what you mean take you somewhere? I'm like, what's those things called out here that people go get work? And he was like, a temp service? Yeah, take me to one of those. So I went to a temp service and applied for a third shift factory job, got the job. I didn't want to sit still because I felt like if I sat still, I wasn't accomplishing anything. And after being in prison all them years, I've been sitting down for 16 years. Man, I'm ready to go to work. I'm ready to go to school. I'm ready to do something with my life. I want to be a productive citizen, you know? That's what I plan. And when the first thing that I found out is that in society, everything does not go the way it's supposed to go. I'm still learning that today. Prison is very structured. You get up at a certain time, you shower at a certain time, you eat at a certain time. You know, you got a lot of structure in prison. You got a lot of rules and things of that nature. You have different codes of you don't do this, you don't say this, you don't look at somebody. Man, all I could say is if the world was disciplined like the gentlemen in prison are disciplined, if the world had structure, man, we'd be all right. We loose cannons out here. We all over the place. People don't respect people out here. People don't respect people's property. You know, I've been home 20 years, man, and I'm still learning to adjust to people, their attitudes, their mouth, the way that they move. You know, that's the thing with me. You know, some of y'all have had your run-ins with me, and I know that I'm different because there's some stuff y'all say out here, man, to get your head chopped off somewhere else. It's some things that people do out here that you'll be dealt with somewhere else. So I have to, as they say, function under grace. And there are some things that I do that people don't understand. There are some things that I say that people don't understand. Like, I'm not a kid no more. I'm not a baby. I'm not a yes man. You can't talk to me anyway. You can't do anything to me. And when you be trying to be slick and run game on me, and I might let you do some things, and that's where I'm wrong for even letting you do certain things. Because then when I get fed up, I lash out at people, and they like, he got a mouth on him, or he shouldn't have said this, he shouldn't have said that. You know, so that's kind of why I am the way that I am. But I just kind of like stay to myself over these last couple of years because I may not like your energy. I don't like the way you rock. I don't like the way you do things. And we may have different principles. We may do some things different. And I am truly on the path of rebuilding and peace. And I'm on the path of trying to accumulate some finance. You know, it takes money out here in this world. So I'm definitely out here trying to accumulate some finance, legitimate finance. I'm all about building my business. I'm all about building me and my wife up mentally, spiritually, physically, financially. So I just do a lot of things different. Well, anyway, back to the story. I finally make it over to the college. And once again, there's nobody helping me do none of this. And I'm going by what a book say or the television show A Different World I used to watch in there. That kind of put me in the mind frame of I'm going to college when I get out. I'm going to have a great life. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. My life is not over. So I go down to the college. Ladies help me fill out I did the financial aid already. I just have to show them how to get online and all of that. So I go online. They pull up my financial aid. I show them the classes I want to take. They help me pick my classes. I had my hard copy of my GED with me, and I had my associate's degree. hard copy of the degree. Didn't know I was supposed to have the transcripts. Like I said, ain't nobody teaching me this, but I knew the name of the college. So I filled out some forms right there on the spot so that they can get my transcripts, financial aid. And I even had a scholarship, and the lady was surprised, like, where you get this scholarship from? You said you coming from prison. I told her I wrote a paper. There's a place that I used to be when I was a youth called Star Commonwealth in Albion, Michigan. If you graduate from them, they will give you a scholarship up to a doctorate's degree. So all I had to do was write a paper, and I wrote the paper on my prison experience because that's the only thing that I knew. They gave me a scholarship. But I had also filled out paperwork for student loans. And the lady didn't catch it till the end. She said, "Oh, you got student loans on here too." And I said, "Yeah." She said, "You're not going to need that." I said, "Why not?" She said, "This scholarship and your financial aid is going to pay for your classes." I said, "Okay." She said, "So you're going to get some checks in the mail." I said, "Well, I'll bring them back." She's like, "No, that's your money to do what you want to do. You just pay it back before you graduate." Now, she didn't tell me how much money it was gonna be. She just told me I was gonna have some money. So I'm like, okay. The address was my mom's house. And I remember one day sitting in class and my mother called me and she said, "Hey, you got some mail here." I said, "Okay." And I forgot what she told me that it said. She said, "I think it's a check." I said, "Well, that's probably my prison account, the money that I had in my account. They didn't give it to me that morning when I was leaving. They'll mail it to you." She said, "No. This something, something, something." I forgot what she told me that it said, but I told her, I said, "Well, open it, you know?" And my mother said, paid to the order, and it was 4,000 and some odd dollars. And I was like, "What?" She said, "You got a $4,000 check here." I said, "For what?" And when she read it, she said, "Oh, this is your student refund." I said, "That's mine." She said, "Yeah." I went and I talked to the professor and asked the professor, "Hey, what is the homework assignment?" But I'm out. I got $4,000. And by this time, I got a vehicle. Oh, I'm out of there. So look, I packed up my stuff. I headed out to the country. I got that check and went to the bank, opened up me a bank account, put some in the bank, put the rest in my pocket, and I went shopping. That's what I did. After 16 years, I'm going to get me some shoes. I'm going to get me whatever, clothes. I can't even tell you what all I did, but I know I had a good time. I really did. I called up some partners of mine who had got out as well, and I was like, "What's up? What we doing?" So I did. I'm out here, and I went and hung out. Went to the parole office that particular day and bumped into a buddy of mine, and I said, "Do you still rap?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "I just got some money. Come on, man. I'm finna put you in the studio because the whole time I was in prison, I kept saying that I was going to start me a record label. And here it is. I'm going to school to be an executive, a music executive. Remember, I'm taking the classes, music industry management. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. So I grabbed up the young brother, took him over here to one of my relatives' house, asked everybody in the studio what they eating, what they drinking, what do you need? I'm asking the artist, what do you need? And I tell my partner, I said, "Man, I got to go back to school." I said, "Give him some music to go with these lyrics." So they sat there and they vibed. And I went back to school. And then later on that night, I went to work and dude called me on the job. He said, "Man, I love this guy. Where you find him at?" And he was like, "I'll do this for free." And I said, "No, we ain't gonna do all that. I'm gonna pay you because I want to own the rights to this. Just do whatever he say and just tell me what my ticket is when I see you tomorrow." So that one incident, y'all, turned into 3 days. I left that guy in the studio for 3 days. That man made me the hottest CD with 11 songs, man. When I tell you that guy was awesome. So here it is. I got my record label off the ground, Down Sound Entertainment, and we go downtown to mix and to master one of the particular songs that I really like and had the pleasure of bumping into 50 Cent, man. 50 Cent was down there. doing some music as well. And then there was a movie going on with this guy, Big Hurt from Rock Bottom Entertainment. Shout out to Big Hurt, and Tony Roberts, the comedian. There was a movie being shot called Project 313. And when I tell you God opened doors, and I'm going to say God, even though other people might say something else, whatever, I had the opportunity to get my music in that movie. I had the opening credit, the closing credit, and I had a police chase scene in that movie. My music was synced in there and my artist. So that right there was a lot. I'm fresh out of prison, 6 months, man. And I'm doing this little movie deal right here where my music is synced into the movie. So I got the big heads, I'm like, hey, I'm out here. I got my label off the ground. I got my artists. I got this little music over here that's in the movie already. The movie is opening on the big screen November 11th, 2005 in Detroit. And that was symbolic to me because that's the day that my dad had died, Veterans Day. So I'm like, yeah, these are signs from God. So I came home blessed. I came home to money. I came home to the country, to a big house. I came home to the most beautiful church in the world. Greater Grace Temple up there on 7 Mile, Bishop David Ellis. I stayed up under the Father, but I had to, got a chance to go up under the Son as well. Attended up under the Son. So I got everything going for me. This is God. This is God. I have no complaints about how I came home and everything. Everything was going great. And then it wasn't. We all got the big heads, and felt like we had made it because we got our music in a movie and we had our names in the newspaper and all of that. And we partied. We partied, man, and we partied too hard. I was out here partying. Y'all think that Puffy was partying. I was out here partying, man, like I had made it, hadn't made a dime. I had notoriety. I didn't have no money. I'm spending my money. Matter of fact, the second student loan check came in the same way. My mother called. I'm in class. Hey, you got another check. Okay, tell me how much it is. When she tell me how much it is, I'm leaving class. I'm going to get that money. This time, I got that money. I go to the casino. I'm going to see if I can double it up. I'm going to the craps table, I'm going to the dice table. I'm going over here where they got all you can eat steak and crab legs down there at Motor City Casino. I was partying. I'm supposed to be at home with 11 o'clock curfew. I'm partying. I'm not supposed to leave the state of Michigan. I'm sneaking down to Atlanta. I was doing everything I was not supposed to do. But I can say this. I had been in a cage for 16 years. So you opened the gate and let me out, and I'm just supposed to sit still, a grown man. No, I'm out here in the country with my mother and father. I haven't had relations in 16 years. I hadn't saw the mall. I hadn't been to the casino. I hadn't had the life of a grown-up, so I'm going to catch up. Long as I'm not getting in no trouble. I ain't carrying no guns. I don't care what the people around me do. That's them. But me, I wasn't getting in no trouble. That I can say. Yeah, I drunk. I started smoking, sneaking around, passing my urine test. I did what most people gonna do and everything, and I have no regrets about it. Everything that I did since I've been out, it led to who I am today. I ended up dropping out of school because I was telling the professor what was going on in my life, and my professor was also an entertainment attorney. And I come to class one day, and he said, "Hey, why you here?" I said, "What you mean why I'm here?" He said, "What you're going to school to do, you're already doing it." He said, "You need to step out on faith." He said, "Because this right here is just holding you up. You'll get real world experience instead of this book theory. Everything in this book is theory. You're going to find out some stuff that everything don't go according to the book." He said, "But take my number and Professor blah, blah, blah want to speak with you as well." He was an entertainment attorney. The two attorneys wanted to keep in touch with me because they see what I'm doing and I don't have no attorney. I'm going to need somebody to look over the contracts. I'm going to need somebody to help me set up the publishing company, the management company, and all of that. Because when I showed them the structure of my company on paper, they were like, where you learn how to do this? And I said, in prison. And he was like, they teach these kind of classes in prison? I said, well, I went to school and I took business, and I would order certain magazines, Black Enterprise, Inc., Vibe, and different people that were coming up at the time. Bad Boy, Death Row. Quincy Jones had a nice little company he put together. Sometimes in the magazine, it would have the diagram of the company, and there was one article I wish that I could find, was called The House the Q Built. And it was about Quincy Jones and how his company was structured with a holding company, management companies, production companies, film companies. And he didn't own 100% of anything. He only owned 50%. And it was shaped like a pyramid to where the holding company controlled everything up under it. And he had investors and things of that nature. And I cut that article out of the Vibe magazine, and one of my class projects, I had to do a business plan, and that business plan was that. I structured my company down sound just like that, how I wanted my company to be ran, the different subsidiaries and things of that nature. And it was going to be a LLC, and with insurance policies and things that I would need, and publishing companies. So I've been in this music thing for a long time, and never even realized that it's a gift that God gave me to put companies together like that, to even get out here and find somebody to record that person, to manufacture that person, to market that person, throwing my own shows with money out my pocket and things of that nature. I've been doing this for a while, but I think that it also come from growing up in Flint. In Flint in the 80s, a lot of us, we DJ'd, and we would rent different halls or go and try to talk to principal into letting us have a school dance, and could we be the DJs for that dance, and house parties. And at the house parties, you would have little guys in the neighborhood that would dance and that would sing, and then rapping came along. So I've been doing this all of my life. I've been in many different crews, as we called it back then, from DJing crews to breakdancing crews to rap groups and everything. When I caught my case, I was a rapper. I had a group called Stone Sea Rock. And my DJ, which is now my niece's dad, that's how long he's been in my life and everything. So I've been doing music. So to sit down and do this podcast and to open my company back up and get back off into the production side of music, the management side, the executive side, it's nothing new. It might be something new to some of y'all down here, but when I first got here, one of my second, third jobs, I worked for Grand Hustle for a minute. So like I said, I've been doing this off and on. It's just now I'm focused and I want to do it professionally. I'm going to college, going to law school, entertainment law, transactional attorney, and things of that nature. So I could really know this side of the business, the law side, the legalities and everything. As I was saying, the name of the podcast, Prison Saved My Life. It was in prison that to me, put my whole life together, what I wanted to do when I got out, how I was going to do it and everything. Because I had a roadmap. I wrote things down, and I had scriptures that lined up with what it is that I wanted to do, calling things that be not as though they were, and God's going to open the prison doors. I can honestly say God helped me put my company together. Some people might differ, some religious fanatics, because they might say, well, the music that you're doing, it doesn't glorify God. Well, you got your opinion and I got mine. God gave me this gift. I've been doing music all my life. Even as a kid, I would sit in the basement and listen to records and sing songs. And my mother made sure that all of us played an instrument of some sort. I grew up in a very musical family. There were instruments in the house, piano, trombone, trumpet, cornet, clarinet, and bongos. There was always instruments in the house. And as each one of my siblings moved out, I would pick those things up and play by ear and things. My favorite bands at the time were The Time and Prince, the SOS Band, the Gap Band. I would put on albums and try to tinker out the melody of those songs on the piano. So Hey, when I got to prison, I did the talent shows. Me and some buddies, we put talent shows on. I ran into different musicians on the yard, the keyboard player, the drummer, and all of that. I would go put the talent shows together, go talk to the different people that played these instruments and put bands together, even in prison. I have always been a young Berry Gordy, and I enjoy it. Now, when I come home, the family or people was like, why don't you give your gift to God? You should get involved in the church. Not what I want to do. It didn't interest me. Kurt Franklin, brought a different genre of music out here. And there's some people out here I like. I love Ty Trevitt. I love Dietrich Haddon, however you say his name. There are some artists out here that I like. Do I want to do music for the church? Nope. I don't want to be bothered with that. I want to do what I want to do, and that's my life. Everybody, just like with this podcast, there were people that were saying, well, you should get on there and you should preach and you should man, let me do what I want to do because that's what makes me an individual. Just like you do what you want to do. I don't want to do all of that. I don't want nobody putting labels on me. I ain't trying to preach. I don't want to be the next hot gospel artist or the gospel executive. When I put this company together, I'm signing whoever sounds good, whoever I think is marketable, whoever has talent. That's all that I'm doing out here. You got talent. I want to invest in your talent. I want to help you live your dream. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody wants you to do their thing. I'm doing what I want to do out here. I'm not breaking no rules. I'm not breaking no laws, and I'm very happy with what I do. Where were all these people with their opinions and their ideas when I was in prison? I am who I am because of God. God helped me get to where I am and some people that God has brought in my life. Prison laid the foundation for who I am right now, the structure. Like I said, prison saved my life. It gave me structure. It helped me sit down and figure my way out. I remember my sister Angie telling me, you thought your way in there, you're going to have to think your way out. And she sent me this book by Dr. Naeem Akbar, Visions for Black Men. I remember that book. I remember the message in that book. I thought my way out of prison, and I've been thinking my way out ever since. Am I where I want to be? Mentally, I am. Financially, I'm right there. Spiritually, I got it all together. I'm happy. There's some things that I plan to accomplish. When I get off this podcast, I'm finna sit down here and do my homework. Graduation is right around the corner. Today is October the 4th. I graduate December 21st. All praise due to God. God helped me get to where I am today, and it all goes back. And when I say prison saved my life, it was in prison that I really met God. I remember going to all the different church services in there, the Pentecostal, the full day, what is that thing called? Full gospel businessmen, the Baptist service, the Seventh-day Adventist service, the Mennonite Amish service. I went to every service in there, the Islamic service, the Moorish Americans, Science Temple of America. I went to every service. And with the church, each preacher said something different, but he spoke about the other churches that were there. And I was like, I can't do this. And I was like, God, I'm really trying to get to know you. I'm confused. Every time I go to a service, somebody tell me I'm in the right place. I don't need to go to the next one. I should just be here. And I'm like, Lord, if you want me to know you, you're going to have to reveal yourself to me because I'm lost. And he did. He revealed himself to me through his word. In the last days, I will pour out my spirit upon man and I will teach you. And you won't need nobody to teach you. God taught me who he is, how he is, and where he is. It was in prison. He saved my life. He showed me how I was in prison and how Paul was in prison. He used Paul while Paul was in prison, He used Joseph while Joseph was in prison. God was showing me some things in them scriptures was like, your life is not over, man. I can use you if you let me. and I can give you a good life. And I do. I have a good life. I have a good life. I have a great wife. I have beautiful family. And when I say family, I'm talking about immediate family and in-laws. God has allowed me to just be. And I don't try to be anybody's. Y'all know who my in-laws are. They have a great name. Then some of y'all know who my family is. They have a great name. But Sam is just Sam. I'm not trying to be like nobody. I don't want to. I don't want to be known as Bishop Sawyer, Reverend Sawyer. I mean, because I used to do that stuff. A lot of y'all don't even know, but I preach from 1992, nope, 95 to 2005, really 2003. I preached. I ministered. I've ministered here since I've been in Atlanta. It's just not something that I want to do. If there's a message that I need to give, I'll give it. But other than that, that's not what I want to do. That's not my calling. I still minister. It just be more one-on-one. There are people that I meet in my life, and I'll sit down and start talking to them, and the next thing you know, the conversation goes to the word of God, and I'm ministering over somebody. But as far as being in a pulpit and having a church, that's never been what I wanted to do. Maybe God will use me on a podcast like this, and I'll end up ministering. I just want to be, and I want to be free. Thank y'all for sitting with me today. Again, my name is Sam. The microphone is my therapist. And every time I talk to y'all, it's therapy. I'm trying to do this thing for 12 months. I'm going to get better. And I do have topics and things of that nature. Y'all just rock out with me for the next 12 months and let's see how this thing come together. Everything is going to kind of, like I said, even though the podcast is called Prison Saved My Life, everything is not going to be about prison. I have some interviews lined up with some people that have gone on to do some great things in their lives. I have some attorneys lined up, some therapists lined up, public speakers lined up, some entrepreneurs, I got a lot of things in store for y'all that God is allowing me to do. I got some musicians that's going to come on this show. Business owners. I'm taking it to the max, y'all. I'm going to milk this thing for all it's worth to leave this digital record for my grandson, Adarian, for Manny, so that they can see what Papa did with his life. My name is Sam. I love y'all. Y'all have a great Saturday. You be safe out there until we meet again. Peace.